If this was a story of fiction, it would be a story of injustice, cover-ups, greed, denial, and even betrayal. However, this is not a story of fiction. This is fact. And unlike fiction, there's no closure. Two years have gone since I lost my brother John. I miss him so much. The sad point about it is I am not my brother John's next of kin. As a result of me now not being John's next of kin, I can't find any truth. I can't get to the truth. The truth seems to be covered up. People seem to be in denial. I just can't find out what's happening. It's been 2 years since John's died, since John's passing. What happened, I'll never know. Who and why it happened, who is responsible, who made the decisions, I will never know. I am not John's next of kin, I am his loving brother. But because I'm not his next of kin, I'll never get to the truth of why my brother John has died so unnecessarily and so tragically. There's just so much injustice in what's happened to John 2 years ago. He was a fit, healthy man. Last time I saw him in this house was a couple of weeks before he died. He was sat here playing the guitar. He was a healthy man. I'm not John's next of kin, so I'm not going to get to the truth. The hospital won't tell me nothing. What happened 2 years ago is after the football match that should never have went ahead, John became ill. He rang me up and told me that he was feeling awful. Anyway, as the week passed, John got worse and worse. He was asking for an ambulance. He was ringing the NHS. The NHS have let him down badly. He was ringing up asking for an ambulance. He was asking for help. He was told he wasn't priority and he was told to self-isolate. He was told to shut the curtains and go to bed and self-isolate. All the time he was asking for an ambulance. He waited a week for an ambulance. The night before we eventually got John an ambulance, he rang me up. John was petrified, he was scared, he was confused. This is why some of us in the family believed that maybe John had a water infection or there was other complications. It wasn't just that virus, it was something else, and he did not get the care he deserved. He was getting worse and worse at home and he's just getting told to self-isolate. Eventually, we got him to hospital. Like I say, the night before we got him to hospital, he was petrified and he was confused. I'm not a doctor, but it displays all the symptoms of a water infection, doesn't it? He was very confused. Anyway, we eventually got him to hospital and I spoke to him the next day from the hospital on his phone. John was petrified, he was weak and he was petrified. He promised me that he'd fight whatever was wrong with him. I kept getting told by the hospital that he was the strongest on the ward, that because he was a non-smoker and he'd lived a healthy lifestyle, that the prognosis for John was looking good. However, there was decisions that were made, apart from the, the telephone people telling him to wait for an ambulance and advising him to lock himself up before he got to hospital. There's decisions that were made in the hospital that I want answers to, but because I'm not the next of kin, I can't get any answers. The hospital are fobbing me off. But I was told at the time that John was the strongest on the ward. Various family members have been told different things while John was in the hospital. Some were saying that he had some sort of an infection, possibly a water or a liver infection. They didn't know what it was. There was an assumption by some people that it was the virus. Eventually, like I say, last time I talked to John was from the hospital, and he was frightened and he was confused, very confused, and he was scared of needles. Someone somewhere made the decision to induce John, my beautiful brother John, into a coma. They put him asleep and put him on a ventilator. I don't know who made these decisions. I can't get to the bottom of who made these decisions, but they put him asleep, they put him into a coma, and then decided to induce a do not resuscitate policy. They decided not to resuscitate John. John died. I can't get any explanations because I'm not next of kin. Next of kin seem to just have blocked themselves away from anyone and don't want to talk to anyone. We can't get any answers. John was a good man. He was my brother and I loved him very much. Like most siblings, we had our ups and downs over the years, but we were very close. The last 2 years of John's life, we became closer than we ever been, especially as we were nursing my mum before she died of Alzheimer's disease. John looked out for me and looked after me. I miss him so much. I don't know why he's died. I don't know who made the decisions. I don't know why the decisions were made, but there does seem to be some cover-up somewhere, and we as a family were not getting any answers. There are various members of John's family who are trying to find out what's happened, why he's died, who made the decisions, why the decisions were made. But pals at the hospital won't tell us nothing because we're not next to kin. John was a fair man, a decent man, and he looked after me. When my mum died, with regards to my mum's legacy, he made sure everything was fair right down to the last penny with regards to my mum's wishes. John was absolutely fantastic and I couldn't wish for a better brother. I just wish he would have been next of kin. One thing I do know, I'm absolutely certain of, John worked all his life. John had 7 children and 14 grandchildren. He worked all his life. I personally, it's only an opinion, but I personally believe that John would not disinherit 6 of his children and 14 grandchildren. I don't believe he'd do that. I don't believe John worked all his life just for one person to have everything. But I'm not interested in John's estate. I want to know why he's died. I want to know where the care plan is. I want to know who made the decisions. Moreover, I want to know what's happened to John's property. Last time I spoke to our John, he was on his phone. He promised me that he would fight The hospital mysteriously, apparently, have lost all his property. They can't find his clothes, they can't find his phone, so I'm told. So I don't know nothing. All I can say is I miss my brother, John, very much. And because I'm not next of kin, I'm not getting any answers. Rest in peace, John. It's been 2 years. I'll always love you for eternity. Rest in peace.